Welcome, mortals. This week, we're crossing the line where true crime meets high-stakes conspiracy. We're dissecting the William Butler family annihilation and the bizarre online manifesto he left behind, claiming everything from child sacrifices to hidden versions of Facebook. But was he a victim of the system or a victim of his own mind? We're opening the door to the history of brainwashing and mind control to see if the beast can truly be programmed into the human psyche. You're listening to the Parallax Podcast. Or are you?
Are they listening?
They're listening closely.
Hey, Willow.
Hi, Karisa. Should we ASMR this and just whisper?
People are like, stop doing that. That's creepy.
Actually, see, I'm weird because I actually hate the ASMR videos because it's almost too much.
Yes.
Just a little bit of the sound of the texture.
That doesn't make you weird.
Or something. It's almost too much. And I just get this weird, ugh. I get the ick from it. I guess we won't torture you guys with an ASMR episode of the Parallax Podcast.
Although, is ASMR a form of mind control?
Well, I guess you're going to tell me that today, and I'm going to feel lucky that I didn't fall for it.
Well, what we're going to do today for those listening is we are taking a case that was given to me by a client. She asked that we cover this. We have a few listeners here in Fort Walton Beach. Shout out to you ladies. We are going to cover a case they felt needed to be covered. And at first, I was like, hey, I don't know what you guys want us to cover. It's literally just a family annihilation. It's just a basic case. We typically take a spin on it, not really finding anything here or there, until they sent us the comment made by William Butler. And then I sent it to Will. I'm like, we have a case.
We have something.
There is a twist.
Yes. And so obviously you guys know that we talk about true crime, but we like to take more of the paranormal twist on it if we can, or talk about the culture behind it because it just is something that's more interesting than just here's the case. And while family annihilation is obviously
interesting,
it's interesting. It's obviously very, very sad, but it's very interesting and it kind of has a whole psychological thing to it with all of its different studies and stuff. It's not necessarily paranormal in any sense. However, there is a comment, and I will tell you guys what the comment was at the end of the little segment here.
And not necessarily paranormal, as far as if there is an alternating twist to it. It doesn't have to be always paranormal. It could be, with this one, we're going to take a rabbit hole down mind control and brainwashing. And that is interesting because that is not something that was really talked about in this case.
Yeah.
So when there's a new or an alternative theory, we definitely want to tackle it. And that's what we did. And we've done some deep diving. So this one we've actually worked on for quite a while.
Yeah.
Because,
and I will say two things. My first thing is that what kind of makes me sad about this case is obviously for those local to the Fort Walton area, you guys who know that William Butler was the perpetrator and he also died it was a murder-suicide. So he died in this case. And I feel like because he didn't survive, I feel like they didn't really do a lot to fully investigate everything. So there's not as much out there on this case as I kind of wish there was because I feel like this case deserved more attention and more answers, at least for the community and probably for the surviving family members. But with that being said, I also want to make a quick disclaimer. We are not claiming that this happened because of brainwashing. We're just saying that this is is a twist.
You're not saying that.
We can't say that because there are people who are still surviving in this family. So we're not
first of all,
claiming that we know what happened. Let's
put a new disclaimer out. The disclaimer is we're not claiming we know what happened. But I'm not going to also offer the option that it wasn't mind control or brainwashing because the theory's still out on that. So you're going to present the case. I'm going to present my side of it. And then for those listening as well, we're not going to duplicate this case into a second episode. However, the episode after this is going to go directly into the history of mind control and how it has to deal with ancient history. And certain things we've talked about in the past and certain things that live in through the veil.
Because that's a big
Can-
old topic too.
Yeah, because you can always go back to sleep demons.
Yes. Unfortunately, you can always go back to sleep demons. I will never escape them.
I'm kidding.
It
May not necessarily be sleep demons, but you can always find a demon that might be. He might be in the Department of Mind Control.
And I want you to know, Karisa, you're about to be so proud of me, okay? Because I was proud of myself. I'm writing a dark, kind of like gothic high fantasy book at the same time as working on my third book. And I was trying to come up with names for hellhounds because, like, why not? And so then I was like, okay, let's just look up like a bunch of different like names for things and I'll pick out things. And it was like, one of the things was like Lamashtu because it's super ancient. And I was like, I know what that is. So
I know who that is.
I know who that is. I know the story behind Lamashtu. I am not picking it, but I know what that is.
Sorry, Lamashu, I shall not manifest.
I'm not manifesting. I'm not manifesting you, but I was proud of myself for saying that. I mean, like, well, I know what it is. It was like, most
funny.
people don't know. I do now. Anyway.
Because you listen to this podcast.
Exactly. So now you guys can see that and say, I know what that is because I listen to the Parallax Podcast. You tell everybody to get cultured. I'm just kidding.
Right. Get cultured. Listen to the Parallax Podcast.
Are you ready?
Yes, I am
now
ready.
That we've had our tangents. Are you ready for this case?
Yes.
Let's do it. And again, I'm going to bring you guys what I could find. There's really not a lot out there because I don't think that they investigated this as deeply as I wish they did. But I'm going to bring you everything that I could possibly find in the realms of all the different news reports and even Facebook because I literally went everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're going to start on the day of the crime itself. It was on the morning of October 25th, 2016. Before most of Fort Walton Beach was fully awake, police were called to a home on Pryor Road, southeast. The call came around 5:45 a.m. Inside that house lived the Butler family, 46-year-old William Butler, his wife, 43-year-old Katrina Louise Butler, their 20-year-old son, Jeremy, their 14-year-old daughter, Caitlin, and their 17-year-old son, Jacob. According to the police, Jacob heard an argument inside the home. At some point, he got out. Some reports say that he ran to a neighbor's house. Another local account reported that he escaped through a bedroom window before seeking help. I have seen in a few different reports where he said to the neighbor, because apparently they're saying, most reports say that he ran to a neighbor's house, and he had said to that neighbor something along the lines of, I have heard my parents fight before, but this doesn't seem right. Like something seems off. This seems different. What matters most is this. He survived because he did get out. When the officers arrived at the home, they found 4 people dead. Jeremy Butler and Caitlin Butler had been shot. Katrina Butler had been stabbed multiple times. And William Butler was dead from what police described as a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Investigators recovered weapons from the home, including a shotgun and a knife. The Fort Walton Beach Police Department identified William Butler as the person responsible for killing Katrina, Jeremy, and Caitlin before taking his own life. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the Office of the State Attorney for Florida's First Judicial Circuit, as if that isn't enough of a mouthful, and the District 1 Medical Examiner's Office assisted in the investigation. Immediately, the question became the one that follows almost every case like this. How does a family arrive at a morning like that? So we're going to dive into who they were. And again, there's not a whole lot out there to really tell us who these people were. So I kind of had to go off of the different reports from the news. There were a few interviews like with neighbors and friends. And then I kind of had to search through comments like on Facebook to kind of see like what is the community saying about these people. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you what I know for sure and kind of say like a few of the different, not comments, what are things I'm looking for? Statements made by the neighbors and friends and people close by. So, like I said, the public record gives us only pieces of who the Butler family members were. Katrina Louise Butler was born on December 5th, 1972, and then she died, unfortunately, on October 25th, 2016. Her obituary was brief, listing arrangement through national cremation and burial. Wow, why am I struggling with burial? Burial. It's literally B-U-R. Burial Society.
Burial?
Is it burial?
It's
I guess
burial.
you do. Yeah, it is burial. I'm just crazy. Okay. Through the national
English
cremation
is
and burial
not an
society.
English language, or it's not an easy language at all.
It's bugging, this is so silly. It's bugging me because it's a U, and I feel like that should be like.
Well, it would be
burial, but it's burial.
Yeah, it would be burial, but it's spelled. You pronounce it burial.
And that bugs me because it's a U. But anyway. Well, that place, if you guys need to know, is in Milton, Florida, by the by. The people who knew Katrina gave more than just dates to the public whenever they did their different interviews. Friends told WJHG that Katrina had worked at Surf Hut, a restaurant in Destin. Have you ever heard of Surf Hut? Because that sounds so familiar to me, but I feel like I've never.
No, but while you're telling us, I'm going to look it up and see if it's still a thing.
Cool, because I feel like I've like seen the word.
But I mean, everything Surf Hut.
Oh, there's so many different like tourist trap shops out in Destin too that are all like Alvin's Island, Surf Hut, Surf this. So maybe that's where I'm getting that feeling from.
So it is a restaurant. It's a restaurant. Is
it still open?
It says it's still open.
Wow. Okay.
It's like a seafood place, of course. The Surf idea.
Well, yeah. It's also
in
Destin.
It's on the beach. Yeah, it's
Not
on
surprised.
the beach. Yep,
okay.
Yep. Yeah, and it's it's across from the Embassy Suites.
Oh, okay. I know where.
So it's down there by Miramar Beach.
Yeah. Okay. That's why
That's a long drive.
I mean, I've gone that far before. I had to go get a dresser from like the Santa Rosa. Was it Santa Rosa Beach like island? That's way down there once. Anyway, besides my dresser.
Yeah.
There at Surf Hut is where a friend named Parker Evans and Kayla Wilson said that they met Katrina. They described becoming pretty close to her. Evans said Katrina and her daughter had become part of their lives and that Caitlin had even babysat for them. Friends remembered Katrina as someone who showed up for other people. Evans said that she had been there for them in their own times of need, and that was why they had given her a place to stay when things became difficult. And that detail is important. According to that same interview, Katrina had recently been staying with friends. Those friends said things had gotten worse with William. Evans said it reached a point where William was threatening his family and their well-being. Then, according to Evans, Katrina and William came to the house one day to pack up her things and move her back home. Evans said that outwardly everything seemed happy. But when Katrina walked out the door, he felt something was wrong. He said he looked at his fiancée and said something was going to happen if Katrina did not get out. That is not proof that anyone knew what would happen, but it's proof that the people close to Katrina were worried. They knew something was wrong. Jeremy Butler was 20 years old, and this is the oldest son. Public reporting tells us very little about his life, and that absence matters. Too often, victims in cases like this become reduced to their place in the crime scene. Jeremy was not just the son, he was the person whose friends and family lost him. And that was kind of an extra little point, like, to why I feel like this needed more investigation, simply for us to understand and remember who these people were, but also there's just so little. And I feel like it leaves so many questions about this. But I did see in a WJHG interview, Evans did remember Jeremy as a very sweet person. So we will make sure to say that he was remembered to be very sweet. Now, Caitlin Butler, so the youngest in the family and the daughter, was 14 years old. Gun Memorial lists her as having attended Choctawhatchee High School, Meigs Middle School, and Elliott Point Elementary. Friends remembered her strength. After the killings, the Okaloosa County School District made grief counselors available for students. That detail tells us something about the ripple effect of this on the community. Caitlin's death did not end at the walls of the house. It moved outward into classrooms, friendships, neighborhoods, workplaces, and the lives of everyone who loved the Butlers, which is why we had people asking us to do this case, because this community still remembers this 10 years later. And then we have Jacob Butler, the 17-year-old who survived. Public reporting identifies him as the son who called police or got help after escaping the house. Some reports said that he called, but most said that he escaped the house, went to a neighbor's house, and the neighbor was the one who actually called. But I couldn't get a confirmed,
verify that.
Out of respect for his privacy, there was not really anything else that I could find. Because he was a minor at the time of the case, I think that's honestly why they did so much to keep him out of the limelight and to not really go into details, which I think is fine. I think he deserves his privacy, and especially now talking about this case, I think it's fine to talk about it, but I don't want to go too much into who Jacob was, because I think he deserves to live his life however he's living it now, and I hope he's doing very, very well. Now that we kind of have a little bit of an idea of who the family was, I kind of want to go over some of the things that happened that I could find leading up to this instance that might give us a little bit of an idea of what was going on in the house and potentially how things got to where they were on October 25th, 2016. After the murders, Fort Walton Beach police released information from prior reports. According to WEAR, police provided 3 separate reports that showed earlier domestic disturbances and concerns inside the home. The earliest cited report dated back to December 2013. Police had reportedly been called to the home for a report of child abuse. William Butler had allegedly hit one of his sons. I don't know which one, but one of the sons. According to that report, William was described as having a bad temper, breaking things and beating Katrina. However, Katrina denied the allegations. And I saw that in multiple reports where she's denying to the police multiple allegations of his abuse. Now, as we know, because I think we've kind of touched on this a few times in the past, but in case we haven't, denial is not unusual in domestic violence cases. It does not mean that the allegations were false, but it also does not mean we know exactly what happened behind closed doors. It just means that the documented record included allegations serious enough that the police had to be called, but we cannot confirm 100% what happened. Then, in May 2016, police were reportedly called back to the home for another domestic disturbance. According to WEAR's summary of that police report, Caitlin told investigators, so Caitlin's youngest daughter, that William had taken Katrina's keys because he believed Katrina was on drugs, was worshiping the devil, and might leave with Caitlin. Now, I can't remember if it was this same WEAR report or if it was a different one, but I remember reading that was what Katrina had told the investigators, this is what my dad thinks. Or Caitlin had told investigators, this was what my dad had said. But Katrina was telling investigators, yes, I was going to leave with Caitlin, but I was just going to, leave the house. And that was it. She wasn't going to do anything super sketchy. And again, I mean, we don't know. But I thought, given the comment that we're going to get into later at the end of this, is interesting that he's documented here in this official report saying that he believes that she's on drugs, she's worshiping the devil, and that she's trying to leave with
What
kids.
year was that?
This was that same year. This was 5 months before the crime, so 2016.
So was that in May?
Yes.
Because that's 1 month before post.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm happy.
Which we'll explain that in a little bit.
Wow. Okay. Well, things just got really interesting. Anyway. At that time, too, Caitlin also reportedly told the police that she was constantly anxious because of her parents fighting. She also said that she had been self-harming. That disclosure resulted in Caitlin being Baker Acted, meaning she was taken for an involuntary mental health evaluation under Florida law. Now, obviously, I know the Baker Act is something in Florida. Do you know, do they have something similar in other states, or is that just a Florida thing? Because I was sitting there, for whatever reason, my brain just thought, oh yeah, Baker Act, like that's a federal, like anybody, anywhere could be Baker Acted. But then when I was reading some of the reports, it was like, oh, in Florida law, in Florida law. And I was like, oh, is that just a Florida thing? Anyway.
The Baker Act is specific to Florida law, while, that statement goes. There are also very similar laws in California, New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Wisconsin.
I feel like, I don't know, because I grew up in Indiana, and I feel like I heard the phrase Baker Act in Indiana before coming to Florida, to be honest.
That's the thing. I've heard it before. So we may just almost blanket that statement because it became very prevalent in Florida.
That's true. Anyway, so that was a fun tangent. So poor Caitlin ended up being Baker Acted because she had disclosed to the police officers that she was self-harming. 1 month later, so in June, the police were reportedly called again after Caitlin had texted a teacher that she wanted to harm herself. I know she was Baker Acted both of those times. I couldn't find anywhere that told me for sure if she ended up being institutionalized for any considerable amount of time. She might have been after the second one, but at least the first time that she was, from what I could find, it was a very, very short stint for the mental health evaluation. And then the second time, she might have actually been institutionalized for a moment after that one, but I'm not positive. But this is also one of the most heartbreaking parts of this case, because before Caitlin became a homicide victim, she was a child expressing fear, anxiety, and emotional distress. And I feel like that shows us something was happening in that house. Even if we cannot confirm for sure what was happening, whether it was domestic abuse or if it was maybe just lots of fighting and maybe she just wasn't able to really handle it well emotionally, something was happening. There was some form of instability in that house for sure. Now, these reports also do not allow us to diagnose William Butler, obviously. They don't allow us to say with certainty what he believed, what he planned, or why he chose violence, but they do show a documented pattern of turmoil in the home. Like I said, the police calls, the allegations of abuse, the fear, the threats, and the controlling behavior. Something was happening for sure. Now, in family annihilation cases, researchers often look for escalating stressors: separation, loss of control, domestic abuse, jealousy, financial trouble, paranoia, custody fears, suicidal behavior, all kinds of things. But not every case has a factor that we can easily point to, and it's important not to force a case into a theory. But in the Butler case, several documented elements fit known risk patterns for family annihilators. There were the prior domestic disturbance calls. There were allegations of abuse. There was reported fear inside the family, because I did see, while we have official reports about Caitlin being Baker Acted and stating that there was issues in her family, one of the boys, and I cannot remember which, if it's Jeremy or Jacob, but I did see in one or two reports that one of the boys had also talked about like either anger, annoyance, or anxiety because the parents were fighting. Mm-hmm. And we do know that Jacob had said, potentially in some of the reports to his neighbor, I've heard them fight a lot before, but this time is different. So this behavior between the parents, at least, is relatively well documented within at least the community and the friends surrounding the children. There was also a period where Katrina had apparently stayed outside the home with friends. There were claims that William threatened people connected to Katrina, and there was alleged controlling behavior, like when he took Katrina's keys, when he was accusing her of drug use, of the devil worship, and fearing that she would leave with Caitlin. There was also obviously access to weapons. Researchers have long noted that family annihilation is often not a sudden break from an otherwise healthy family system. It's frequently the final act of escalating control, despair, rage, or perceived loss. That does not mean every abuser becomes a killer. But it does mean that when control, threats, weapons, and domestic violence overlap, the risk can become lethal. And I feel like that is a very important point to make with any of these cases. Just because somebody has a certain diagnosis, or just because they do one thing that is also on this long list of things that can lead to like a family annihilator, for example, does not mean that they're going to become a serial killer or they're going to become a mass murderer. It just means that if they fit multiple of these criteria, then perhaps the chances are higher that they will become this individual. But at the end of the day, it is a choice. And if you choose to make that action, then you will become a very bad person. But it is a choice. Anywho. The term family annihilator is often used in true crime, but academically, the act is actually discussed as familicide. Familicide. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm not good with words today. But that is the killing.
I've been struggling with words today.
I'm not doing well with words. I'm so sorry. But it's, I believe, familicide, which is the killing of a spouse or intimate partner and one or more children. In many cases, the perpetrator is male. Often, he is the father or father figure in the household, and most or many cases do end in suicide. Researchers have proposed different categories. Some perpetrators are described as self-righteous, blaming the family or partner for perceived betrayal. Some are anomic, reacting to a collapse of status, finances, or identity. I feel like I see that. Not I see, but I hear about that being the reason the most often in the multiple different like family annihilation cases that I've heard about on the different like true crime podcasts and stuff I listen to. Some are disappointed, seeing the family as failing to meet an ideal. And some are paranoid, acting from delusional or persecutory.
Persecutory.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, I got you. I got you, girl. Yeah. It's fine. I got you.
Those kinds of beliefs. I'm so sorry, you guys. I hope you're laughing at me. Wow. It's been a long day. Anywho, these categories are tools, not certainties. But in the Butler case, we can't really say which category William Butler belonged to because there's really not enough public evidence for us to make a for sure this must be what occurred. But the reported allegations, especially the claims that he accused Katrina of drugs, devil worship, and possibly leaving with Caitlin, show a household where fear and control were already visible before the murders. So with that, I would almost say that if I'm basing it off of that little bit of information alone, then I would suspect him as either self-righteous or paranoid. But then again, that is my own personal speculation. There is not enough public evidence out there to say for sure what caused him to do this.
And we don't have him here to ask.
We don't have him here to ask. But on to the specific comment that we've been talking about this entire time, that was a month after he made that allegation where he said that Katrina was on drugs, was accusing her of devil worship, and that she was going to leave with Caitlin. This was a comment made on Karisa actually sent it to me because it was sent to her by an individual in the community who had asked us to cover this case. And it was, if I remember correctly, Karisa, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I think she's probably pulling it up right now as we speak.
I have it on my computer right now.
It was an article about, was it about the Illuminati or was it about?
No. So the headline of this article is Selma Blair removed from plane and rushed to hospital after bizarre MK Ultra style breakdown. So this is talking about MK Ultra and the actress Selma Blair. So if you just look at it at face value, you would not know. But how someone knows that this man made a comment way down in the comment section is crazy.
Well, and I think personally, because I've said it like, I don't know, a gazillion times while talking about this case, there is so little out there. There's so little information from the tiny investigation that they did, honestly,
Or
that,
there's very little left. Let's put it that way.
yeah. And I
Because
feel
the way the
like,
Go ahead.
also, I was going to say, I feel like the community, because these, I mean, obviously these kids were a big part of the community. They had gone to school here this entire time. And I feel like so many people needed answers because this was huge. Like a family annihilation doesn't happen very often, much less a big, like there's not huge crime in this area. There is here and there, but there's not really like massive like serial killing or family annihilation. This was huge for the community. And so I feel like they were left searching for answers. And this is during a time where we do have social media and you can go searching through literally everything on the interwebs because it never really fully actually disappears and gets deleted. So I imagine that.
Yeah, but we don't have the software to recover the things that have been scrubbed.
But I'm not surprised that people are able to find this comment because I think they're just searching for something.
Yeah.
Like any kind of answer, something to explain how in the world this happened in their community.
Well, and so one thing I do want to correct in a statement that you made is that this, even though this is a strange and the crazy thing to happen in this area, this is actually not that crazy because 10 years prior, around 1996, I think there was 3 people that literally tortured him and killed an airman. And then there was also a man, I think, in Fort Walton that, girl, there are several murders here we can cover.
Well, I
if
know
you wanna
there's
know how
several
crazy this is.
murders. I know there's several
There are some
murders. I
crazy
just
things.
mean compared to some of the larger cities.
Well, yeah, but that's
And
only because
like
per capita we have more people that are retired here versus people who are building their small entity in a
that's
in
what
a
I mean is
metropolis.
that we don't have a heavy crime issue in this area every single year. Like we have had multiple things happen over time, but it's not like people are just, dying, getting murdered left and right. That type of thing. So it's when something like this happens, it is very big for the community. And I think people just were left searching for
sure.
For answers.
So do you want to read
Yeah.
Mr. Butler's comments? So this is in the Selma Blair thing with the MK Ultra. This is like quite far down in the comments. It's not at the top. It's not. He's commenting on something else someone has said, and then yes.
So he says, I have seen the Illuminati's special version of Facebook Messenger where they sell children for sacrifices and whore out women. My family was among those on it. I never imagined such evil existed. I found it on my wife's cell phone. She is MK Ultra victim from an Air Force family. I have 3 children with her and just figured it out in January. I was brainwashed with a phone call into deleting the message. All this sounds crazy, but that's how they get away with it. It sounds too crazy to believe. Eglin/Hurlburt Air Force Base in Northwest Florida and several cult sects are behind it here, as well as a dental surgeon named, and I don't know if I'm going to call this person out, but a dental surgeon in Fort Walton Beach, and Surf Hut restaurant manager, and I will not call out this lady either. But he does list their names. People are missing out on the fact that Facebook is a huge participant. Bars and restaurants in the Destin/Fort Walton area are in on it. I can only pray that I get my hands on it again. I'm serious. I turned my back on God, and He has delivered me to this evil. I should have never turned my back on Him. End quote.
It's heavy.
That's heavy. It's especially. You said this was a month before he made those allegations, right? Because it was in May that the police were called to the house for the disturbance. Mm-hmm. And this would have been in
a month
April.
Later. No, so
or a month later.
You said he made the allegations in May.
Yeah.
This was made in June.
Okay, so this is a month later.
A month later.
Like he was still. I say still because I don't know for sure if this was a paranoid delusion or if this was like something's really happening, but he was still very much like deep into this. Whatever it was, whether it was searching for this message or whatever was happening, he was still very, very, very much into it.
Yeah. And so he creates a timeline for us, though. So do we want to start diving into this? A few things?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
Take it away, Karisa.
Let's take it away. All right. So he gives us a timeline. He noticed this comes to him in January. So 2016 is a pivotal time when this things. So I'm interested to know the cases where they were started talking about like the violence and the cops getting called. Was this all in 2016? Were these things that were happening in 2016? When were these things happening?
The
As far as when he.
two, I do know the two Baker Acts with Caitlyn
Mhm.
were in 2016 because it was when they were called for Katrina's keys, or when they were called because William took Katrina's keys. They Baker acted Caitlyn then, and then it was like a month or so later she was Baker acted a second time. So those two were in 2016. The previous allegations, I don't know exactly when those were. Based off of what I guess neighbors and friends were saying and kind of reading between the lines, it appears as if everything that started happening that was like going downhill. So like whenever she moved out for a little bit, whenever Katrina talked about like controlling behavior, this and the other, that was all, it sounds like that was all very recent.
Mhm.
Like it
So I'm
just started
saying is,
happening and they were concerned.
yeah, when I'm reading, and this is the thing, when I'm reading this at face value, I'm seeing someone who truly believes in what they're posting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing someone who truly thinks something happened like this. I just figured this out in January. Like, and I was brainwashed, like
Mm-hmm.
by a phone call, like making me delete things. I wish I wouldn't have done it. I wish I could just find it again. So this person posted this, but this person posted on something very specific, MK Ultra. So they were down a rabbit hole at this point. Like they had convinced
That's true.
themselves so much they went down a rabbit hole looking at every little thing, and now they're seeing it with a celebrity, things that are
Mm-hmm.
happening. So this person felt this to be very real, and I'm gonna dive into the local part of it and why the local part is extremely important to the effects of brainwashing. It is very important that he's named um, a dentist and a restaurant manager, you know, because these are make it very real for you. Okay, but before I go there, two things. One, you said you have a choice in these situations. After we talk about this, I'm going to ask you that same question if you think that people that have been brainwashed have a choice.
Well, if you've been brainwashed, that's different. I meant.
Well, this man, okay, so we know of several of annihilation cases where the people are just straight crazy. Like that one that we talked about where the man went out there and just like bludgeoned his entire family to death and like one of
Yes,
the
that
one
was
son
the
got it.
Christmas. That's one of the Christmas
The
ones.
Christmas Story, yes. So what I'm saying in
Hmm.
that situation, that man was brutal, but
Yeah.
he was leading up to some weird stuff in the beginning of that. He
Hmm.
wasn't like saying, "Hey, there's things happening. You know, my daughter's being Baker acted twice because she's out of her mind, like things are going on." Like there's all these
Hmm.
different things that even like the cops believe that she needs to be Baker act. Whoever's picking
Yeah.
her up agrees she needs to be Baker act. It's an
Hmm.
involuntary thing. You can't be like, "Oh, no,
Hmm.
I'm fine." No, you're actually
No,
displaying.
you have to go. Yeah,
Yeah, you're
because
displaying
there's
all the
evidence.
things. Yeah, you can voluntarily put yourself you can ask for it to be Baker Act,
Yeah. Mhm.
but you can also involuntarily. That's mainly what happens, um, in those
And
situations.
do you
And it's not
know?
like they're just gonna randomly take people. They don't just take people to take people.
I was gonna say they have to have like a certain amount of evidence to be able to say yes, we will take this
Yeah,
person. Yeah.
yeah, they're otherwise we'd be Baker acting the entire state of Florida.
Sometimes.
Just put listen, Baker Act
Sometimes
that
you
guy just put out in
probably
front of
need
me.
it. Let me
Right,
tell you.
okay. But I wanna keep that in the back of your mind, the whole, like, you have a choice, because that is
Hmm.
a huge thing, which I'm not putting it in this episode, but I am gonna put it in the second episode when we
In
talk
the
about the
Gotcha.
Stanford experiment. That is the Stanford experiment is something that's talked about a lot in psychology classes. And it has to do with if you have a choice. So we'll talk about that one, but in the next episode. But let's go forward. You said that the son said it was different. And so they've argued in the past, and I'm sure you're like, wow, that just something feels different on this one. You have those feelings, but
Hmm.
he had enough wherewithal to know how different it was. So
Hmm.
either the energy was extremely off, something had changed to make him feel he needed to go get help.
That's what I was wondering too. With did he say, oh, it's just different because William had already become violent?
Yeah, because there was
Or
no mention of it being different because he had weapons.
He just said it's different. That's all
It's
he
different.
said.
They're arguing it's different. Like,
Something's
so
different.
is the energy different? Like, is something demonic? Is there a demonic presence? Is there something that that person even felt themselves? Um, and the thing is, he says he turned his back on God. That means at some point he was a religious person at some point, possibly,
Which
or
makes me
spoke
think,
about.
yeah, and the family was probably raised somewhat similarly, whether they were devout or just like, hey, this is, a basic,
Right,
this is what we
casual
believe.
spiritualists.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, what is,
Yeah,
does
and
that mean
so
that to his
and
son,
think,
he sees it as something demonic? That's interesting.
what do we know about possession? What do we know about possession when it comes to cases that we've talked about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. The devil made me do it.
Devil made me do it. What do
Mm-hmm.
we know about that?
So, well, I have to really throw my brain back there. We know that I think we talked about how there kind of has to be something that like invites the darkness in, basically. Whether
Well,
it's you're like asking for it or there was like a weakness or something, like if there's something
yeah,
dark in your life, so to speak,
yeah,
they
you
can
can't
latch
be.
on to
Well, you
that.
have to be necessarily not. You don't have to always invite it. Inviting is like a huge step because it's like, yeah, we're
Hmm.
coming in, but you didn't say
Yeah,
how many. We're all coming in.
we're
Um,
all going.
we're guys.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah, we talked about that. But you gotta think here. He said he turned his back on God. Like he openly said he turned his back on God. So at what point did he do? Did he open his mind to something else? So
Did he
was
turn his
he
back
opening the?
as in, yeah, was it like a casual, just I guess I won't go to church all the time, or was it worse?
Was he also diving into something evil that did invite something in and
Hmm.
allow certain things to be persuaded upon him? Okay. So something that I thought you might find, because I know you have a fascination, not a weird fascination, but you have a fascination with the family annihilator cases.
I do
But
have a
something,
weird fascination. I'm just kidding.
and that's fine. But I did want you to know, because I thought it'd be interesting for you to know this, that the majority
Yeah,
of family annihilators do not present this overt delusion of fears of like satanic infiltration. So the family annihilators
that
are
is
not people who
interesting.
typically think that the devil is possessing their family.
That is interesting. They usually think that I feel like most of the paranoia usually comes from like some kind of like government entity rather than
So I think which
devil
we
worship.
could dive into that at another episode when you want, because there are like I think 4 to 5 different breakdowns for that psyche, but I
Yep.
did look it up
Hmm.
that fears of satanic or demonic infiltration is not one of them. So that's
Interesting.
extremely not the majority. But all right. So before we even try to make sense of William Butler's words, I wanted to kind of unpack a little history, which I'm going to go a little bit more into in the next episode before we tackle the religious side of it. But we need to kind of acknowledge the landscape from where these words are coming from. What he's describing is kind of like just it's not just a random delusion, like I said. He obviously believes it,
Yeah.
but it's a very specific historical recipe. Like this is typical like 101 mind control type stuff that we think about.
Hmm.
He's he's taken one part of this government atrocity on the page, which is the MK Ultra part. He's taken like one part medieval witch hunt, which is the mythology of the Illuminati.
Hmm.
He's taking one part of the digital part of it, of the panic, which is using the internet
Yeah.
that pushes out an agenda. And he mixes it with this profound personal crisis that he has about God, like him turning his back on God, and that God sent evil to him because he did that. Meaning God is like almost doing it on purpose. So to see how these pieces fit, I thought we needed to kind of build a timeline, not go into super detail of the history, like I said, but kind of create some kind of timeline of events and the ideas. So that way when we go to the like next episode, it'll kind of like we have this kind of this baseline and we kind of segue into like more of the brainwashing
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Cool.
Okay.
Look at you go.
Because I'm
You're
like,
so
how do you
cool.
kind of like how do you talk about brainwashing without sounding super out there?
Yeah. Which is crazy because which is crazy, how ironic. But it's interesting to say that because brainwashing is a very real thing that was studied and attempted, and in many ways there is an argument that it is a successful thing that you can do. So This is very creepy, but I'm excited. Go ahead.
Well, it was so real quickly to begin, let's talk about science, or rather like the Western science that kind of pursued this perfect brainwashing
Mhm.
technique that you speak of, this brainwashing, because I want to keep this word brainwashing on the forefront right now before we talk about mind control. Um, and I'm not like, again, we're not going to go into a history lesson of wars because that's literally not my jam.
That
I don't
is
get into all like what wars are happening and why they're happening. But I do remember in one of the religious history books that I was reading, um, s- uh, about certain things, what kind of brought on the mind control research. So I only remember that there was something about some POWs. So then when I started going back to the library, I'm like, which war was that?
which
1812?
one? I know there was a war.
There was a war.
You
Yeah.
start throwing out random dates.
Yes. I'm like, I don't know. Well, I knew, so I
Was it?
did know it was in the 50s. And the reason I know
Yeah,
that was because that's about the time that LSD had been synthesized from ricin. So I did know it happened around that same time frame.
makes
You know,
sense.
how
You're
you
like,
connect the pieces, I
drugs.
don't
I know.
know. Hallucinogens, yes.
You're like, drugs.
Yeah, drugs. Uh, to understand this brainwashing panic, you have to kind of drop right in the fog of the Cold War. Specifically, this is the Korean War, 1950 to 1953, which, like again, I knew this was around that time only because I knew this is when LSD had been synthesized after like the 25th synthesizing efforts, and by accident, by the way, um, in a lab. But like, and then how the CIA eventually took off with it, and then it went in one direction with the CIA and that, and then it went another direction to Harvard with the Timothy Leary thing, which we'll
Mhm.
talk about later. But for now, the Cold War was kind of the first major hot conflict of that era where American troops fought directly against the Chinese Communist forces. So American soldiers, and I mean, you got to realize this is the 50s. We don't know what it's like over there like that. I mean, not every
It's
household has like
true.
live streaming.
Yeah, it's not because I
So
feel
your
like,
television stuff is like you're getting this news source later. It's not like live
yeah,
action.
it's not right away. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we didn't get live action till the moon landing.
But did we though?
Did we though? Okay,
Did we though?
I digress.
Thank
And
you.
exactly. American soldiers and airmen were captured in significant numbers, primarily after battles like the one that they had at this reservoir, and like if a plane was shot down and over enemy territory. And they weren't just like, and they weren't captured on American soil. These were captured on foreign peninsulas and like taken to North Korean prisoner of war
Ooh,
camps.
wow.
So,
Okay, yeah, that probably was not.
hello, say less.
Yeah.
Yeah. And across the, like even like taking across like Chinese borders and stuff. The why was tactical, but the aftermath was psychological. They had all these POWs, these prisoners of war, and we get them back. When we get them back, they notice something different. Like these people like are like believing in communism as like a superior way of living. Okay? These people who were once free are now like, no, this is the way.
No,
So
this
these
is the way.
POWs, yeah, these POWs have become subjects to this like this experiment in the eyes of Western culture, that their captors had basically isolated them, peer pressure, grueling study sessions, strategic staged confessions, not just this to extract military information, but literally to try and fundamentally convert them and prove that their way of living, which was communism, was the perfect and superior way, as the global audience like saw these POWs coming home. Like these people were captured, but now they're saying, "Oh no, they are great."
Oh no, but
So
it's fantastic.
yeah, so you see that like it's kind of like
Yeah.
you're expecting these people like, "Oh my gosh, they're awful human beings." No, they brainwash them to do this.
Yeah.
So
To
when
say the
some
exact opposite.
yeah, so when some broken compliant soldiers became had come home, they were like again, they were giving these communist slogans, and so these tortured victims, Western science saw this terrifying thing that they were able to change their soldiers into a whole new thing. So that was kind of like a terrifying thing for us, but it was a exciting thing for science. They wanted to study that.
Because they wanted to see how they could do that.
Yeah. And so this and I mean, and here's the thing. This created a whole new race of mind control. Like who can do it first? Russia.
Really?
All these
Wow.
places are
Okay.
like, yeah, all these places are talking like who's going to be able to mind control. So therefore, the Cold War gave us basically this race for mind control.
The Cold
Now,
War accidentally gave us a lot.
yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. So when you use the word brainwashing, just so we know, this is extremely clumsy translation for the Chinese word for Xinao. This is wash brain. And I will get to this more in the next episode, but it's not what you think. And it's actually kind of scary the weight it carries. People in the culture, I should say, were willing to do these things to kind of cleanse themselves of bad thoughts, to take concepts
Okay.
that they were holding and get rid of them. Like so they were outwardly asking neighbors and friends to help them wash their brain of these things.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
to understand the key of this concept versus how we see it as a westernized culture, that can change what's happening. I don't know. Because listen, I'm not a communist. But for some people do need to be controlled. Like get it together. Get it together.
Get it together. You need help.
You need some help. Maybe someone needs to hold your hand still, okay?
When you sit there and you're like, you should not be allowed to make your own
You need a
decisions.
communist friend to hold your hand. Is that what you need?
You need help.
Yes. Again, like I said, we're gonna talk about that more. But I want to kind of go back to the Cold War thing. This created a primal fear after they saw what they could do to American soldiers. And then so basically the enemy could reprogram the human mind like a computer, creating this perfect puppet is what they saw. But it wasn't just like the science fiction version that we're used to. This is like
Yeah.
the highest level of the CIA and military. This was their new strategic goal to create these soldiers that could literally do what they asked them to do. So, this is where we get the pursuit of the Project MK Ultra. Now, we do know this is real. Okay, this is not fake.
Mhm.
This is not fake news. This is not conspiracy. MK Ultra was an actual real project.
They declassified those files.
Yes, those files have been declassified. As far as declassified as to what they're willing to share with us. Let's put it that way.
True. True.
Yeah. So basically, which we'll get into this more, but like this was a project that basically was trying to make their subjects, um, or I should say, their mission was to crack the human code, to crack the human mind. They would experiment with everything from like LSD laced cigarettes to sensory deprivation tanks to electroconvulsion therapy at like 40 to like high voltage power. uh, Sexual baiting. There were times that they would hire prostitutes to bait men in and use like drugs and sex to like to control them as CIA agents watched from the other room.
That's really
Yes.
gross.
Yeah.
Oh my lord. Okay.
One of the I'm not even kidding. One of the documents that they had released had 149 sub projects on it. Which I say sub projects, I'm talking that means 149 known declassified ways that they experimented on the human minds. Like I said, with sex,
Oh
drugs, torture, and
my
all these other
goodness.
combined ways. Yeah, 149 different ways that they experimented on people. Some willing, some non-willing. Like there were prisoners, there were military people, and then they started doing this on the community, women and children. Like
Tell
this was
me,
not.
there's so many instances where the government has just been like, yeah, let me just experiment on my people. Like,
Here we're saying that yeah. So,
anyway, I digress.
anyways, as if yeah. So here's a crucial and often missed point though. MK Ultra wasn't really about creating a hypnotic assassin. The files that were released suggest that it was more of a chaotic, more desperate scramble to understand the extreme psychological stress that could break down an identity and create suggestibility. So basically the answer is yes. It was not necessarily a reliable cinematic way of mind control, but they did find ways to break the human psyche down. But
Yeah.
not in the way that certain doctors within the experiments wanted to like wipe the mind completely clear and then they start over from scratch like it's a freaking robot.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of movies, there is a movie that I personally think about every time I think of mind control and brainwashing, and it has a huge like moral question to it. But is there any movies that you have ever watched that you could think of?
Well, I guess my silence means no. I feel like if my brain was working,
Yeah,
I would
that's
be able
true.
to think of one. But right now,
Have you
I'm
ever?
like, yeah, I can't think of any movies in my head at all.
Okay. Well, here's like my ultimate brainwashing movie is Clockwork Orange.
I haven't heard that.
What?
I'm
Girl,
uncultured.
you have lost 1 point from your nerd
Oh
card.
my gosh.
This
You
is
can
a
get
cult
mad at my
classic.
dad for that one because he did not introduce me to that movie. It's his fault.
I watched
Clockwork
this one
Orange?
without drugs. Like, I watched this one completely sober.
Without drugs.
Like,
Nothing
this
in
is-
my system.
First of all, this movie is one of those ones that's made for people who are tripping. There are a lot of
Okay.
movies that are made specifically for people who are tripping to induce like certain ooh sounds and like visual aspects. Like Clockwork Orange is one of them. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is another. Like there's a lot of different things that people will make movies specifically for tripping.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Anyways. So if you haven't watched this, and I don't know, it's one of those ones that you have to kind of look, it's a very dark movie. Basically the main character, he's kind of like he's leading a group and they're violent, they're raping, and they kill they kill someone
Mm-hmm.
through this. I think they kill, oh my gosh, I think they kill her. Like he raped and killed her, I think. I'm trying to remember if he raped and killed. Either way, they're violent and he ends up getting caught. But instead of going to jail, he's given as a government experiment where they brainwash him. And so almost like hypnotically, if he tries to do something violent, it makes him deathly ill. Like he can't fight anymore. He can't be a danger to anybody in society. Okay?
Okay.
Sounds like a great plan, right?
I guess.
Get rid of the feeling that you can harm someone.
Yeah.
Right.
But then you also can't protect yourself if somebody becomes violent towards you.
And that's what happens. So he gets put back into society, and those who he has harmed now come after him. He can't fight back.
Yeah. He's just
You take someone's free will, but at the same time, by taking it, they can't use their free will to save themselves, which,
yeah.
I mean, he was a pretty violent person.
I mean, yeah, there are some people who I don't really care too much if you don't really care too much depending what you do.
Yeah. It's just trusting that. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the big question is, can you trust that they've been reformed or that they've been suppressed?
It's true.
Okay. Because in the movie, he knows what he wants to do. He just can't because that's the free will has been taken from him, even though his mind is saying he wants to do it. The free will to do it is not there.
He can't actually do it. Yeah.
Right. And in the end of the movie, they give him this free will back.
Oh, that's cool, I guess.
So, yeah. Anyways, it is a very dark movie.
Wow.
Very dark. Anyways, the experiments the CIA was doing, it created this psychosis trauma and it literally shattered lives instead of creating these obedient agents. The real legacy of this MK Ultra isn't a technique. It's more proof that the concept of our own government viewed its citizens as test subjects.
Yeah.
In a secret war of the mind. Basically, we're lab rats. And I mean, the thing is, I say legacy of MK Ultra, but literally, how can we believe that our government hasn't continued to do these types of tests?
Yeah.
With new ways of doing it.
Because the amount of times that we've discovered that they were testing and we had no idea until later, it's like the documents come out. We're like, oh, okay, so you were just testing us. You were doing these tests of these things on us and we had no idea.
Yeah. I mean, one could argue, and I'm not going to create this argument because I'm not in that, but I will throw it out there. People can argue that was the same case with the COVID shot. Like it was required.
Yeah.
Before it was truly tested and before we had good numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I still got the shot because I wanted to travel and whatever, but I chose the shot that had no affiliation with any political party. There was one company that had a shot. Hey, I did. I looked it up. I was like, what company has never given money to a political candidate?
There you go.
And that's how I decided.
That's the right way to do it, though.
They were isolated. That doesn't mean that they were good. It just meant they were not politically driven.
Which is always, it's not good, but it's slightly less corrupt. So,
yeah, right. Yeah. All right. So this brings it to my favorite part of the lesson, which is the psychedelic connection. Yeah, the psychedelic connection. And I've read like 2 really good books on the evolution of psychedelics in the Western world,
Hmm.
especially after the synthesizing of ricin into LSD, um, through like it was shooting off to the CIA and then shooting off into the Harvard
Hmm.
experiments, which with people like Timothy Leary at Harvard, they were preaching that LSD was this tool for spiritual liberation and ego dissolution, including the Beatles. The Beatles were a part of the whole Timothy Leary cult and everything like that. But a paralleling to like this is kind of where you get the free love, like the love and peace and harmony and all these like this is kind of like the beginning of
Live,
that
laugh,
era of the
love.
yes. Basically, this is where this kind of all like shot off from because it went one direction with this, which you could kind of say maybe that was a mind control thing because these people were tripping balls and literally
That's
having some
true.
pretty, yeah, some pretty crazy experiences where they went from being like super like anxious to being like, I'm so chill, man. So chill.
That's so
Like
chill,
life is so
bro.
cool. Like it's not that big of a deal. And most people who do end up tripping will tell you once they've experienced that deep trip, and they see certain things, they have a different outlook on life. So it's
Like
almost
their
like
perception
they
has
it does alter
changed.
their mind. What is it?
That's true.
Yeah.
I said their perception has changed, and then I checked on where my dog was.
Oh. But the parallel to this is in that same exact era and a little bit before the Timothy Leary thing. The CIA saw these chemicals as like potential truth serums or like these agents of chaos that they could
True.
use for their upcoming wars or secret intelligence or whatever. So they kind of funded research on a different, more bizarre, uh, dark side of the weaponizing of this stuff and used it for like this thought process of mind control. But I don't know if I've ever told you my personal theories of LSD, but here's the thing.
You gonna learn tonight.
I gonna learn that what my theories are. So LSD, like I said, is a synthesized version of ricin. And do you know what ricin is in the normal world?
Isn't that what comes from the magical mushrooms?
No, that's
Is that
psilocybin.
the? Oh, okay. Well, then no.
Ricin is a toxin that can kill you.
Oh, yeah, no big deal.
Yeah. I mean, ricin is a toxin. Will you Google that for me real quick? I'm pretty sure that ricin was used in some kind of chemical warfare at one point, possibly, or some form of it. In its natural state, like ricin. Look up the toxicity of ricin.
The United States tested ricin in munitions during World War One and World War II, and Iraq investigated its use in inhalable aerosol in the 1980s, but these efforts involved purified ricin. The most famous use of ricin was the 1970 assassination of Georgy Markov in London, where he was stabbed with an umbrella containing a purified ricin pellet.
Okay. So, like I said, it's kind of deadly.
Just a little
So,
bit.
a little bit. So, this is the thing ricin, when you synthesize it, like this 25th version of the synthesizing of it, is like a hallucinogen. But so that's what it's acid, essentially. That's when
Hmm.
people say, yeah, I tripped on acid, they're talking about LSD.
They're
Lucy in
talking
the
about,
Sky with
okay.
Diamonds. That's what they're talking about. And this stays in your spinal column for the rest of your life.
For real. So, like, if you did acid and you were in your 20s and you're now in your late 50s, it is still in your spine. You could be tested and it would test positive for acid.
Yes, I was in my 20s and I'm in my 48 now. Yes, it's still in my system.
Okay, well, I was actually talking about my dad. So, like, shout out, dad.
So that
Which he does not seem like somebody who has ever done anything like
listen,
that. And I was like, I don't know, 22 when I learned that my dad did acid. And I was like, Father, you can't say
uh,
anything to me now.
we could talk about that on a whole different episode. Yeah, I did it in my 20s, but I'm still good and I see
What
things
an
completely
exciting
different.
life.
Okay, but my theory is with LSD, a lot of people don't realize it has a lasting effect possibly on your body. I feel like because it
Okay.
stays in your spinal cord, like in your spinal cord.
Hmm.
So I think it's in your fluid possibly. I think they could test your spinal cord fluid possibly and see if you've ever done acid or something. There's something along those lines they can test. So
Fun.
anyways,
Okay.
however, the things that are not something that does as much damage to your body, potentially like peyote, which is what originally Timothy Leary and them did. They went to Mexico, Central and South America, and they got the magic mushrooms off this little ledge, and that became the new thing. They tripped on
Hmm.
tripped on shrooms, and that's what kind of. And then the LSD came out, and so there's all these new hallucinogens. But there are hallucinogens that are normal things in society that make you hallucinate naturally versus ricin that is would kill you, and then you
Hmm.
synthesize, and now you're potentially shaking hands with the devil.
You're no big deal. It's fine. It's just a gateway. Whatever.
Right. You open some portal that you don't need. All right. Okay.
It's fine.
Anyways, that's my thing is LSD I feel like is not in the same wheelhouse as the sacred peyote and mescaline that you find in
The more
shrooms and
naturally
cactus. Yeah.
occurring things
Mhm. All
that
right.
people use. I
Yes.
agree.
All right. So of course, the government wasn't the only one experimenting. There were a lot of different people doing this whole psychic driving of the mind control thing. There are places in Montreal, Canada. There is a base called Lincoln Park. Just saying. Um,
Interesting.
A lot of people are doing these. They're jumping on this bandwagon, this race to mind control, and basically, what they do is permanently destroy people. Um, I mean, it's like there. It was almost like a newer version of Nazi Germany, except for with experimentation on new drugs,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
there
that
wasn't a
makes sense.
war. It was like it was different, but at the
Yeah.
same time the same. They were genociding people's minds. Um, all right. So, the next topic in his comment, let's talk about the Illuminati. The original group was claimed to be dissolved in the 1780s.
Hmm.
But like of course, the 20th century, there's these new conspiracies and we have all these things. Basically, it's kind of like this um it was a Christian end of times mythology that kind of I mean, some people would say it was satanic, but it was almost like they kind of like held all the information of they were enlightened. So they understood the vast understanding of balance between good and evil.
Interesting. Okay.
And so there were these tales of these underground tunnels and these ritual sacrifices and all these courses of serial killing groups we covered the Sons of Sam. And I say the Sons of Sam because we believe he did not act alone.
We absolutely believe that. I
We
think there's
absolutely
enough
believe there were
evidence.
yes. Yes.
There are multiple sons.
Yeah. Yeah. So Butler's claim of the special Illuminati Facebook selling children and this kind of gives into that satanic panic narrative of like uh that has been claimed to not exist.
Hmm.
So the thing is, he's putting all these things that are literally littered with this person's off their rocker. But when you read it, and you could read it again to yourself, it doesn't sound like someone who's completely insane yet.
That's true.
It doesn't sound like someone's completely rambling. It sounds like someone's like, "Oh my gosh, I saw this. I seen this happening. Like something happened in January. I wish I could get it back." Like someone who's desperately crying.
Yeah, like they're starting down the rabbit hole, so to speak. They're starting to look into it. They're starting to like almost like open their eyes to it or open their eyes to that possibility rather than somebody who is absolutely like paranoid and delusioned.
Mhm. Right. So when I was reading this into this case, I wasn't looking at William Butler as a person who was mentally unstable in the aspect of someone who was trying to kill his family. I looked at it as someone who truly thought someone had already taken over his family and someone who truly felt they were being controlled
Like
and that
he
their family was showing
believes.
signs of being controlled. Like,
Hmm.
we don't know the conversations that were happening. We don't know what caused the
Hmm.
fights. We don't understand the psyche that they were going through. Um, were they talking about like something she did? Like, why are you doing that? Why are you this or that? Like, I'm not going to speak ill of the dead, but we also don't have anybody living to tell us
Hmm.
what truly was happening that morning. The son that survived hasn't given us a breakdown, or if he has, no one has the breakdown of what truly he felt was different that morning.
Hmm. Of what it was about that argument that made him so
Yes,
terrified.
right. Like if there had been some before, what was so terrifying about this one? Because it didn't mention anything about guns or a knife. It was more something was different with this one.
Yeah. It wasn't like, oh, I left because I heard my dad fire off a gun,
Mhm.
or I left because I heard him say he was going to kill. It was just something's different about this argument.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, and so this is where we will eventually down the road look into some other cases, but Butler was not alone in this type of using this type of framework. The Unabomber literally had a psychological warfare with the MK Ultra thought process and
Mm-hmm.
like the experiments that um were done on him. Like he was a brutal subject. The CIA literally there's proof that like he was an undergraduate at Harvard and that there were experiments run by a
So he
certain
would have
doctor.
been, yeah, he would have been in those.
Right. And notice I say that he was an undergraduate at Harvard in 1959. That also overlaps when Timothy Leary, who was a professor at Harvard, was starting to distribute LSD to a lot of students and a lot of other professors and getting this whole new era of people, almost like a mass experiment as well.
Yeah.
But he was a very charismatic person because Timothy Leary, honestly, when you broke him down, he was a terrible professor. He was a complete idiot. And he probably shouldn't have never got a job at Harvard. Well, he probably should never got a job at Harvard, but his charismatic ways got him indoors.
Yeah.
Got him
that makes
doors
sense.
to open, got doors to open for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, anyways, so you got the Unabomber, same idea, like this, this system that controls and dehumanizes people. He was a part of that, and then it kind of led into this whole like him becoming like isolated and becoming this person,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was hunted for so many years. There's the whole we talked about cults, surviving cults, members of cults that survive, and they talk about, like the Manson family, or this is not really a cult, but I was thinking about Patty Hearst in that situation.
That's true.
People where they're taken and their minds seem to change, that you're like, they would never think that way. And you're like, how do you think? You were never raised this way. How are you thinking that this complete opposite way of you've always portrayed, but now you're completely opposite.
Well, that makes me think of, thank you, shout out to Captain Dylan for this one, Mother God. And that documentary I just watched, that absolutely, by the way, we should 100% cover at some point.
Well, I gotta watch it first, so I'll start it, I promise. I'm terrible at watching the things that you guys watch.
Okay. It's okay. I will come over and force you to watch it, so it'll be fine.
Okay. Well, you have
we'll
about
sit down,
6 weeks.
We'll watch it together. We will take notes. It'll be fine.
Well, there will be a time frame, but by the time he's headed to Massachusetts and I'm still here in Florida, that I might have time to do it then.
There you
Between
go.
that and me deciding to video game my day away, I don't know which one would.
Perfect.
And so then another comparative note is I have a client whose name I shall keep to myself. She's a retired officer in the Air Force. And her brother, who is also retired, is also military, not necessarily retired in the same facet because of the situation, but that he claims people had essentially brainwashed him to do things and had inserted like mind control things inside of him.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing that she said is that like he had destroyed his apartment looking for listening devices, and that he couldn't explain it, but like the tip of his nose would tell him where to go. Have you ever heard that?
I don't think so.
Well, let me tell you how common it is. Because when she told me that, I'm like, I think I'm going to add this to this, because I'm pretty sure this is a thing that has a common denominator in people who feel like they've been mind controlled. So, again, we're just trying to build a data. Like, I know it sounds like we're rambling here, but hold on to this, listeners, because I'm trying to build like a database of the facets that Butler was claiming in his thing, and also showing how people that are brainwashed, they start feeling a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So, the nose thing, there's the nose thing, the telling. This is something that is extremely common in people who have been claimed to be brainwashed or mind warped or whatever.
It's a literal thing.
It's a literal thing. It's like a hot thing. They feel like the laser, it's almost something's pointing them in which direction to go. And this is the thing. A lot of this stuff has been claimed before we even knew that lasers or things like that could even exist. A lot of the things that people were claiming way back when were like these mind control things, hearing certain things. All of this technology was stuff that had not quite been released to the public as a common thing. So if they're telling us this, that means they know something because they were there.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So to understand Butler's words, we have to build this database, like, for all these things he's been claiming, and just like an ancient culture that we're studying that is no longer here, when you think about some of the things that require for a hypothesis, how when you're doing a hypothesis, what is the one thing that makes you think that your hypothesis is accurate? Repeatable data.
Yeah, I was gonna get
You
there one day.
you would yeah, I know words were hard today, so I was gonna help you faster.
I was like, I'm just
All right,
here.
so repeatable data. So, okay, so that's
Mhm.
what I'm saying. If it's an illness or a disease, we look at the symptoms and we're like, oh, well, that's actually going around right now. So we're not even going to waste the test. We know that you have the flu. But if it's something that's a different variable, we're going to start looking at like we're going to run some tests because this doesn't quite fit the flu type symptoms. Just the
Mhm.
one symptom does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what other? So I thought, what other cases reported symptoms with mind control? So because the one thing that he said was he was on a phone call, right?
Yeah, and he
And
said the phone
something in
call
that
had
phone
forced him to
call
do something.
yes, yes. So that's what made me think of that. So there are strikingly common patterns in what victims describe hearing, feeling, or experiencing after they've had these mind control situations or these brainwashing uh episodes or brainwashing, what would the word be? Why are words hard? Um
Again, it's not a word night.
yeah, brainwashing events.
There we go.
So yeah, so if we listen across the decades from like the Korean War POWs to cult escapees to people who said they've been targeted, there is a sensation of mind control that is constant in a lot of these cases. So number one, sensations and this perceived physical manifestation. So they've got these zapping, these buzzing, these tingling. It can happen in their head and body, and it is interrupted as like this energy that basically it's a weapon or like a remote neural monitoring. Like they could almost like you feel like something's in there, and you could feel the weight, like you could feel like the electrodes or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
pressure in the skull, headaches, tight sensations, unusual warmth or cold on the skin on spots that shouldn't be. Sensations of thoughts of being inserted or like blocked. Many describe like a voice that's not their own, giving them commands or commentary. That would that would be creepy.
Terrifying.
Also, it could be something if someone were to do something and said, "God made me do it." They
That's
heard a
true.
voice.
God made me do it. Devil made me do it. This
Hmm.
and that and the other.
Yeah,
True.
something that's seemingly artificial or not necessarily normally there. You would start to think, "Am I hearing voices? Is God telling me I did?"
Mm-hmm.
So if this stuff has been going on since the 50s, and we really didn't start seeing a lot of like serial killer stuff until like, really hitting the surface in the 60s. After all these mind control, who were we experimenting on? Who got loose?
What have we done?
What did we do?
What have we done?
Yeah. Some like there's the auditory phenomenon. So there's something called a voice to skull technology. I don't know if you've ever heard of V2K. Um, but this is a belief that voices and sounds can be transmitted directly into one's brain via microwave or electromagnetic means.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Yeah. So here we're getting into the phone conversations,
Mm-hmm.
like the voices and the thing is he knows that he can pivot into it or he can pinpoint it to a conversation he had on the phone that made him do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But his brain was still conscious of like I'm doing this, I have no control over I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, I wish if he had like documentation or he told anybody prior to that, were there conversations he was having or were there things that he was seeing that when that phone call came in and that made him delete these messages, was there other commands that were leading up to that, like a hypnotic type thing, like
Were there
hypnosis?
other things that he was talking about or other repetitive anything?
Yeah. It's also thought, or people not thought, it's also been stated that voices can even mimic loved ones and authority figures. And we know for a fact that today's society has the availability of AI to do that. Who's to
Mm-hmm.
say that some technology wasn't back then?
Yeah, that's true.
We truly believe that when new technology comes out, they give it to the public right away. No, they don't.
No.
No.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. Um. there's behavioral and cognitive things, like the forced actions and impulses, things that in your head you wouldn't do, like deleting messages or deleting
Mm-hmm.
a complete thing that you just saw, because these are things that you would not normally do, but you were forced to do it, but you feel like you were remotely triggered to do it. These
Mm-hmm.
are all the things that people claim after being brainwashed or through mind control sessions, that these are the things that happened.
Interesting.
Of course, there's always the hyper vigilance and the paranoia, like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
the stranger or that passing car, or like, who's this, who's that, who's following me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the feeling that the emotions of being like dialed up or down externally. So like feeling your body charged or your body depleted.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, and those can also offer into a lot of, like situational things if a lot's going on and they're heated and stuff like that too. Um, in an argument, you know what I mean? It could be amped up even more if he was feeling something or if something was being going on. Maybe he did find something. Maybe he did, um, you know, find an Illuminati situation. But one of the other things, one of the last things I'll put in here about some of the symptoms is the programming narrative,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the ritual abuse and the MK Ultra survivor accounts. Triggers. These are specific words, sounds, or images that allegedly switch them into an alternate state or personality. And then there's alters, which are the belief that they harbor these multiple programmed identities created during the trauma, like almost like an alter ego. Like, I
Which
have to go there.
actually is
Mhm.
interesting because there
Mhm.
is research about alters or altered personalities
Mhm.
formed whenever the brain is perceiving a trauma that is so great it can't it essentially like will disassociate
Mhm.
the person so that they don't have to experience that trauma, and that's when that alter is created.
Well, but that also furthers the idea of like the internal geometry or the internal architecture.
Mm-hmm.
These are vivid descriptions of people's mental prisons that they build, like glass walls or like internal control rooms that they
Mm-hmm.
basically have been installed by the person that has programmed them to take them and isolate them to where they're stuck in that room and can't come out.
Interesting.
Yeah. And we
Terrifying
know
but
we know the
interesting.
brain does that naturally whenever we have
Mm-hmm.
amnesia. The brain will shut you out, put you in a locked room, and will slowly let you take steps outside.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Or like when they talk about childhood trauma with people who don't remember parts of their childhood or any of their childhood because of XYZ trauma.
mhm.
Because the brain is like, oh no, no,
Yeah.
too much.
All right. So let's do a temperature control here. How are we? Are we thinking the mind controls a thing? Do you think you control the mind, or do you think that they can persuade someone to do something and the person does it because they have no other options?
I think that there is enough evidence to suggest a form of what we understand or perceive to be brainwashing or mind control. I don't think it is the like dramatic sci-fi movie type mind control where you can
Mhm.
just wipe someone clean and make them a blank slate, make them do whatever you want. But I do think what we would perceive as a mind control or brainwashing, I think there's enough evidence that there is absolutely certain ways that somebody could be brainwashed or have their psyche broken down to the point where you could tell them anything and they would just do it or just believe it
Mhm.
because they've
But
been
still have
broken
a but
down.
still have a memory of it.
Yeah. Still know that it happened, but be willing to believe whatever it is you tell them or do whatever you tell them.
Mhm. All right. Now, when we circle back here to William Butler, we have to ask some very new questions about this. The fact that William Butler died, through suicide changes the entire lens in which we should view his words, too. He wasn't giving us some kind of alibi for his trial.
Mm-hmm.
This was like a testament, a desperate warning, apparently, based on his language. If you're looking at his
Yeah.
language, it was a warning about his own personal things. He left it in this digital world before his own horrific, obvious breakdown or turning point or whatever happened that morning. And when we read his comments and now knowing that the outcome of what happened, the chilling question shifts from not is he lying, but to did he believe it was true to the point he any part of it was so real for him that he had to save his family.
Mm-hmm. Well, because that's a really big part of the research into different family annihilators is that there is such thing. I cannot remember the name of the category, but there is such a thing as an annihilator who does so because they believe that death is favorable to whatever
The
they believe is
future.
going to happen in reality. Like they think that by killing their family,
They're
they're
saving
actually
them.
saving them. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think there absolutely could be an argument made that he did this because he truly believes that he's saving them. Like he thinks he's doing something merciful and saving them
Mhm.
from whatever. Obviously that is not exactly the case. I think we would all much prefer that this horrible tragedy did not happen.
Mhm.
But I
Right.
do think that there's a case to be made that perhaps whatever he was saying, online with his comments, I think he truly believed what
Mhm.
he was saying. I think that to him that was his reality. Well, this was
So
heavy.
yes. Well, and I wanna do one more last heavy thing to kind of trampoline off of what you were just saying. But I wanna assume for the next few minutes that William Butler's words were not the raging, ravaging words of a broken mind, but a clear-eyed witness statement. Okay, let's look at it as if he was actually telling the truth. Okay? I say it's dangerous because I know we don't wanna speak ill of the dead. I'm not speaking ill of the dead. I'm saying a what if, and let's be a little dangerous with the thought process of what happened here, and that he
Mm-hmm.
was making a statement that was true, that the Illuminati never disbanded, that they evolved. They embedded themselves in into, like, Bavarian taverns, but they were an architecture of this world that we know today, and they have inserted themselves everywhere. If you read the Dan Brown books, you see the Illuminati
Mm-hmm.
infiltrated into everything.
Yeah.
Um, in the military, the industrial complexes in, like, Silicon Valley, like, these quiet offices in your local dentist office,
Mm-hmm. Like
because if
everywhere.
right, and this is what I was saying earlier. When you have a local component that like a dentist or a manager, whatever, it becomes extremely real that something so powerful can reach you at such a small level.
Yeah.
Because we're like, it's almost like the celebrities, like, oh, that celebrity, we know who the celebrity is. We all know who the
Mm-hmm.
celebrity is.
Yeah.
That celebrity does not know us. However, if your dentist is connected, your dentist is a small part of your local community that makes you see the connection up the chain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's assume his wife's cell phone was a portal to this thing that he really saw, this black market, or not black market, this dark web Illuminati Facebook. Let's assume it's real. So if it's true and his comments are not a conspiracy, but it's more of a field report of a hidden war. What are some
Mm-hmm.
of the things that come to mind when you think of those things, if it was real? Like, what would be the one thing that you would think would happen if a man got on a social post and blasted a local dentist, and also who, by the way, only has a 2.5 star on Yelp, and a
FYI.
just saying. And you also have this person in another area that's supposedly connected. You have these people in a community that you're claiming are all in. Plus, you've also included the US Air Force because she's from a US Air Force family.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they would want to silence you.
They would silence you. They would also wipe a lot of information about you. They probably would just leave your death pretty quiet and be like, "Eh, it was a family annihilation.
That's
Not
true.
much to go on here.
Well,
Not
he's already
much listed
gone.
on the webs nothing to be found on the internet
Mm-hmm.
except for that one day."
That's true.
It's the perfect front for, like, an archetype of an ancient cabal, I guess, pursuing this
Mm-hmm.
this control of people, like, oh, he wants to say something? Well, we're going to make sure he's gone and we'll just get rid of his, I mean, essentially his family to this big entity is nothing.
Yeah, we'll get rid of him, and the only thing he's going to be remembered for is how he was gotten rid of.
Yeah. But like the dentist one kind of threw me because I was like, why a dentist? Like a random dentist?
What's
Well,
it do
what
with
does a dentist have access to?
your teeth? Oh my gosh, your teeth.
Your teeth.
And we had a whole episode where you talked about teeth.
Mm-hmm. The tooth fairy thing. Yep. Because accessing that nerve that's inside your teeth area there, straight to the brain.
Your teeth area? That's true.
Your teeth area. I mean, even though it's sci-fi-ish, think of how many times that there's something inside of like the spy's mouth.
Inside their mouth, inside their tooth, inside up the nails.
How many times are we required to to swish fluoride?
Yeah, that's true.
Imagine all the like the nanotech or the biochemical things that they could be putting in there.
I get my fluoride painted on my teeth. Thank you.
Oh, so you paint your nanotech?
Yeah,
perfect.
I do paint my nanotech. Get on my level.
You literally paint your infrastructure for programming like
I don't swish my programming, I paint. Thank you.
Well, okay, so then why would it be important to have this manager of this restaurant, this surf hut manager?
Well, the food.
Okay.
You eat it.
Social hubs, great recruitment
that's
centers.
Also true. Yeah, that's also true.
And it's also a good way to spread the intoxication if it's in small doses. Why? Where do we live?
We live on the beach.
We live on a perfect hunting ground for people who come to visit for vacation.
Exactly.
A perfect place for people to tag children and sell, like get people, individuals, blackmail, leverage or whatever. This is the perfect hunting ground for someone in that thing. So I just thought I would kind of like throw that out there because that's kind of an interesting,
it is
real transactions of things that could have been happening if what he was saying is true.
It's still, okay, I'm so sorry. My cat is, being a cat. It's still like, no matter what, at the end of the day, this case is a very heavy case. It's a difficult one. I do think it is morbidly interesting that there's so little information. It's just, this is what happened this day. And then a few interviews with neighbors, and that's it. I do think that is morbidly interesting. I know that some of it is because that one family member, Jacob, is alive. And so there's a lot that they don't release and make public because he's still alive and they're protecting his privacy. And I think that is fine. But I also, at the same time, there's a part of me that's like, I wish there was more investigation just to give the surviving family members and the community more answers. And there aren't any. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much, I feel like, in his words to unpack that that I'm going to kind of talk more on when we record the next episode, because I do want to talk about the spiritual part next time. Even though we're not technically covering his case in the next episode, we're going to have more of a back and forth conversation about things. I do want to talk about his spiritual despair in that and how it connects to brainwashing and mind control scenarios. But essentially, what I want to take from this case tonight is that it is a very paragraphed situation. We have very little to go on.
Yeah.
If we did not have his comments from 5 months before the incident happened, or no, 4 months, I'm sorry. 4 months before, because it was in June and this happened in October. 4 months before, had we not had that comment on that post, we would assume this was a simple family annihilation. The man went crazy and killed his family.
Yeah. And end of story.
We would have thought.
Wash your hands
end of
of
story. Correct. But that's not how it sits with us now, and that's the scariest part, is that this is filled with a lot of conspiracy things that some people find to be extremely real. And so we have to look at it as if we don't truly know what happened, but we have to think it's possible something more was going on that we don't know about. Hopefully, for those listening, this was good for you as far as a good starting point to cover this and talk about this case here in Fort Walton. And once you listen to this case, definitely feel like A couple of the ladies have my cell phone number. Text me.
I'll say they're going to text you.
Text me once you've listened. You know who you are. I want to call you out because I want you to get on the radar of MK Ultra Illuminati
So
either.
whoever else is listening.
Yeah, I don't want you like being zapped by your phone. But reach out, because if there's more you want me to cover that we've missed, please tell me, because we can add to
We
another
need to
case down the
know.
road. We can always
Mhm.
find a connection.
Oh, yeah.
But the next episode, we will be recording it tomorrow, so we won't have time for that. However, if you do have more questions and you're not a part of the women who gave me this information, you can reach out to us at our email, info@theparallaxpodcast.com, and give us information if you know more about this. Or if you happen to know the son, and maybe if you want to send him our way and give us a little insight to what happened that morning that was different, because
Mhm.
it was a great tragedy, but we don't know truly what happened, and we would love to hear that story.
Mhm.
But if you would like to follow us on other things, you can also go to our website, theparallaxpodcast.com, and click on our icons and follow us for more episodes. So until then, I'm Karisa.
And I'm Willow. Goodbye, mortals.
Thank you for listening.